Deconstructing an ASTM D2000 line callout. In many elastomer products, ASTM D2000 is utilized as the standard to communicate performance requirements of the materials based on the customer's expectations or the demands of the application. An ASTM D2000 line callout looks like this, and it's this entire line that you can see between my arrows. We have the specification that it applies to the line callout. We have some basic requirement information, and then we have what's known as the suffix requirements portion of the line callout. So within the line callout, within the basic requirements, you have usually proceeding with an M, which indicates metric units, so SI units. You have a number following the M that indicates the grade of the material. The first letter following that number, following the grade, is the type, and the type for the material is actually based on resistance to heat aging. After that, you have class, and class is based on resistance to oil swelling. Following that, we have a single digit that is representative of the hardness of the rubber. Now this has a 7, that could be a 70 durometer material, plus or minus 5. It also could be a 65 durometer material, plus or minus 5. It could be a 75 durometer material, plus or minus 5. So we'll see with the durometer if that is a specific target that you're going for, you may need to add an additional suffix requirement to explain that. And then the last two digits are actually representing the tensile strength of the material given in megapascals. What you see on the left-hand side of the line callout, this is actually the minimum requirement that you need to specify an ASTM D2000 material. With this requirement, there are a set of basic requirements automatically imposed regardless of the grade of the material and without the existence of any of the suffix requirements. Those basic requirements include tests and performance results for heat aging, oil immersion, and compression set. The suffix requirements, as you can see, the line callout, the greatest portion of that is actually suffix requirements. What I have written on the board here is actually the longest standard line callout that you could come up with for an M2 BG 710 material. And this is actually a nitrile compound. Grade 2 correlates to the performance results of each one of these tests. So for a grade 2, a grade 3, a grade 4, 5, and 6, each grade will have different applicable suffix requirements. It will also have different levels of minimum performance to qualify as that grade of material. So in the suffix requirements section, we see that we have a preceding letter or set of letters for each suffix requirement. And so B14 and B34, with the B letter, they actually are both compression set tests. EA14 with the EA preceding, this is a resistance to an aqueous fluid or water resistance. We have EF, and this is fluid resistance, specifically fuel resistance. We have EO14, EO34, these are both oil resistance tests. F17 is the low temperature requirement. And our Z callouts at the very end, Z1, 2, and 3 in this case, are what we call special requirements. And these special requirements are very powerful to help clarify specific items that may be required by a manufacturing process. So a typical Z could be, in this case for Z1, I wanted to clarify that the 7 in the durometer callout is actually applicable to a durometer of 75 plus or minus 5. I wanted to make that clear. So I added the Z1 call out for that. Z2, this could be the special processing in the manufacturing that I was referring to. So maybe this elastomer component goes onto an assembly that goes through a paint line and ultimately through a paint oven. So it could be a small amount of time, short duration, where we have an elevated temperature and you want to evaluate the effects of that temperature of the paint booth on the elastomer itself. So in this case, I've included a Z2 call out to say ASTM method D573, and I want to check it 1 hour at 125 degrees Celsius. And then Z3, in this case, I wanted to come up with something a little bit out of the ordinary. And this one I wrote down is must smell like vanilla birthday cake. Now, it's very unlikely that you actually need your product to have a certain fragrance, but it is possible to create a Z call out to impose any special requirement of any kind on the material. Now keep in mind, in doing that, you can prescribe a Z call out that is impossible to meet or could have a major cost impact on the overall material price. So with the Z call outs, you want to make sure that you're using what is applicable to your needs and not imposing anything above and beyond your requirements on the material. Some additional suffix letters are shown here in addition to the ones that I've had. This particular callout did not include a C12 callout, and the C suffix would indicate an ozone resistance test. You could also have, very typical to have G callout, which would be a tear resistance test. And there's a small list of additional suffix letters that correspond to different types of tests that can be applied to different types of material. The combinations of grade, type, and class could have a different list of suffix letters applied. So with all of this, based around the ASTM D2000 standard and included on your drawing, the major benefits of using it: it provides us a standard language to communicate our performance expectations and the performance requirements demanded by the application. It defines the test methods that you're going to use so that the testing can be done at any accredited laboratory and it can be done consistently and results can be comparable. And then it also defines the performance requirements by the combination of grade and type and class. So with those things defined, both the grade and the type and class, along with the ASTM D2000 suffix requirements, we know exactly what tests need to be performed on the material and what the minimum requirements of those tests need to be to qualify for this requirement. This provides very clear information to the design team, to the manufacturer, and also to the quality assurance teams for products.